10,000 words in English. Levels from A0 to C2. Part number 15. Welcome to the new series of the Talk English Fluently channel. In this fresh collection, I will be explaining 10,000 words that cover levels from A0 to C2. This is a vast and rich compilation of words that will greatly enhance your English language skills. Please watch the video until the end, and if you have any suggestions for improving future videos in this series, kindly leave them in the comments section. I appreciate your support through comments, likes, and subscribing to my channel. Ready to begin. Let's go. Part number 15. 500 words.
Grunt.
The soldier let out a grunt as he lifted the heavy box.
She heard a grunt coming from the other side of the room.
Memorandum.
Please read the memorandum carefully before the meeting.
The boss sent out a memorandum about the new company policy.
Kiln.
The pottery was fired in the kiln overnight.
We need to load the kiln with more clay pieces.
Mitigate.
The doctor gave her medicine to mitigate the pain.
We planted trees to mitigate the effects of pollution.
Squint.
He had to squint to see the small print on the page.
When the sun is bright, I often squint my eyes.
Placate.
His calm words helped to placate the crowd.
She tried to placate the angry customer with a refund.
Plum.
She picked a ripe plum from the tree.
The plum was juicy and sweet.
Lock.
The loch was surrounded by beautiful mountains.
They took a boat ride on the loch.
Parcel.
A parcel arrived for you this morning.
She carefully wrapped the parcel before mailing it.
Perceptive.
His perceptive comments helped improve the project.
She is very perceptive about other people's feelings.
Embassy.
They went to the embassy to apply for a visa.
The embassy is hosting a cultural event this weekend.
Auditorium.
The performance will be held in the auditorium.
The auditorium was filled with excited students.
Inaugurate.
They will inaugurate the new library next week.
The president was there to inaugurate the new building.
Salmonella.
They took steps to prevent a salmonella outbreak.
The chicken was contaminated with salmonella.
Reindeer.
Santa's reindeer are famous around the world.
We saw a reindeer at the zoo.
Entail.
What does the job entail?
This project will entail a lot of hard work.
Obtain.
You need to obtain permission to enter.
She worked hard to obtain her degree.
Savannah.
We took a safari tour across the savannah.
The lions roamed the savannah freely.
Festive.
The streets were decorated with festive lights.
Everyone was in a festive mood.
Fiber.
She added more fiber to her diet.
Eating foods high in fiber is good for digestion.
Polytechnic.
He studied engineering at a polytechnic institute.
The Polytechnic offers a variety of technical courses.
Pelt.
She wore a coat made of fur pelt.
The hunter sold the animal's pelt.
Bison.
We saw a herd of bison in the national park.
The bison grazed peacefully on the prairie.
Variegated.
She admired the variegated leaves of the shrub.
The garden was filled with variegated plants.
Tycoon.
He became a real estate tycoon.
The media mogul was a business tycoon.
Lubricant.
You need to use a lubricant to reduce friction.
The mechanic applied lubricant to the gears.
Doom.
They felt a sense of doom as the storm approached.
The movie had a theme of impending doom.
Crystalline.
She admired the crystalline structure of the mineral.
The crystalline waters of the lake were breathtaking.
Stables.
The horses were kept in the stables.
He works at the stables, caring for the horses.
Majors.
The university offers a wide range of majors.
She is considering several majors in college.
Intractable.
The patient had an intractable disease.
They faced intractable problems during the project.
Furnace.
He opened the door of the furnace to add more coal.
The house was heated by a large furnace.
Fumble.
He managed to fumble the ball during the game.
She began to fumble with her keys nervously.
Concur.
The experts did not concur on the findings.
I concur with your opinion on this matter.
Microcomputer.
They used a microcomputer for their project.
The microcomputer was small but powerful.
Analyze.
The scientists will analyze the results.
They need to analyze the data carefully.
Fiat.
The government issued a fiat to regulate the market.
By royal fiat, the laws were changed overnight.
Tenuous.
He made a tenuous argument that was hard to follow.
The connection between the events was tenuous.
Alternative.
We need to find an alternative solution.
There are several alternative routes to take.
Sphere.
The artist sculpted a perfect sphere from clay.
The Earth is a giant sphere.
Compulsion.
He felt a strong compulsion to check his phone.
She had a compulsion to clean the house every day.
Hind.
The hind legs of the animal were very strong.
The deer injured its hind leg.
Bandwagon.
Everyone seems to be jumping on the bandwagon.
She didn't want to join the bandwagon just because it was popular.
Evolution.
The evolution of technology has been rapid.
The theory of evolution explains how species change over time.
Cremate.
They decided to cremate their pet.
The family chose to cremate their loved one.
Hint.
She dropped a hint about what she wanted for her birthday.
Can you give me a hint about the surprise?
Stigma.
There is still a stigma attached to mental illness.
The stigma of the disease affected him deeply.
Foam.
The waves created a lot of foam on the shore.
She used a sponge with foam to clean the dishes.
Penitence.
The criminal expressed penitence during the trial.
He showed deep penitence for his mistakes.
Aquatic.
Dolphins are aquatic animals.
She has an interest in aquatic plants.
Exodus.
The exodus of workers left the company understaffed.
There was a mass exodus from the city.
Recipient.
She was the recipient of the award.
The recipient of the letter was very happy.
Boycott.
The group called for a boycott of the store.
They decided to boycott the company's products.
Pallet.
The goods were stacked on a wooden pallet.
He moved the pallet with a forklift.
Dissertation.
His dissertation was about climate change.
She spent years working on her dissertation.
Exert.
You need to exert more effort in your studies.
She had to exert a lot of force to move the table.
Bard.
The bard sang tales of ancient heroes.
Shakespeare is often called the Bard of Avon.
Harmony.
They sang in perfect harmony.
The colors of the room were in harmony.
Caucus.
The caucus meeting was closed to the public.
The party held a caucus to select a candidate.
Celestial.
They gazed at the celestial bodies in the night sky.
The celestial event was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Jade.
The statue was carved from jade.
She wore a beautiful jade necklace.
Deviant.
His deviant behavior worried his parents.
The artist's style was considered deviant from the norm.
Heritage.
The heritage site attracts many tourists.
They are proud of their cultural heritage.
Disembodied.
She heard a disembodied voice calling her name.
The disembodied spirit floated through the room.
Twirl.
She likes to twirl her hair when she's nervous.
The dancer performed a graceful twirl.
Scapegoat.
They made him the scapegoat for the project's failure.
She felt unfairly treated as the scapegoat of the team.
Echo.
The cave had an echo when he shouted.
Her voice produced an echo in the empty hall.
Disuse.
The old factory fell into disuse.
The machine was covered in dust from years of disuse.
Intrusion.
They were upset by the intrusion of privacy.
She apologized for the intrusion.
Pelvis.
The X-ray showed a fracture in his pelvis.
She injured her pelvis in the accident.
Semantic.
They had a semantic argument over the term.
The semantic meaning of the word is important.
Connotation.
She chose her words carefully to avoid any connotation of criticism.
The word has a negative connotation.
Affection.
She showed great affection for her pets.
His affection for his family was evident.
Discreet.
They treated each case as a discrete entity.
The data was divided into discrete categories.
Worship.
They went to the temple to worship.
She showed worship towards her favorite artist.
Appraise.
They need to appraise the property before selling it.
The expert will appraise the value of the painting.
Stepmother.
She got along well with her stepmother.
The story featured a kind stepmother.
Upland.
The upland area has a cooler climate.
They hiked through the upland forest.
Heal.
The doctor helped the wound to heal.
Time can help to heal emotional pain.
wafer,
The electronic device has a silicon wafer inside.
She ate a chocolate wafer with her coffee.
mansion,
The mansion had many rooms and a big garden.
They lived in a large mansion on the hill.
noodle,
She made a delicious noodle soup.
He slurped the noodle quickly.
fowl,
The fowl were clucking in the yard.
They raise fowl on their farm.
consternation,
The news caused great consternation among the residents.
She watched in consternation as the event unfolded.
suede,
Couch was covered in soft suede.
He wore a pair of suede shoes.
displace,
The flood will displace many families.
The war threatened to displace thousands of people.
kilo,
The package weighed over a kilo.
She bought a kilo of apples.
regiment,
He served in an infantry regiment.
The regiment marched through the town.
muster,
They will muster the troops at dawn.
She tried to muster the courage to speak.
sleigh,
The knight vowed to slay the dragon.
He managed to slay the beast.
ancestor,
They traced their family tree back to a common ancestor.
She discovered that her ancestor was a famous inventor.
desolate,
The desert was empty and desolate.
She felt desolate after moving to the new city.
choreograph,
The director asked him to choreograph the fight scenes.
She will choreograph the dance for the performance.
soak,
You need to soak the beans overnight.
He likes to soak in the bathtub after a long day.
Tort.
The lawyer specialized in tort law.
He filed a tort against the company for damages.
Diversion.
They created a diversion to help the others escape.
The movie provided a pleasant diversion from daily stress.
Snail.
She watched the snail leave a trail behind.
The snail moved slowly across the garden.
Pounce.
The cat prepared to pounce on the mouse.
He waited for the right moment to pounce.
Litigant.
Both litigants were given a chance to speak.
The litigant presented his case in court.
Demonstrate.
The teacher will demonstrate the experiment.
They demonstrate their skills during the competition.
Confront.
They decided to confront the problem directly.
She had to confront her fears.
Oxidize.
The metal began to oxidize and turn rusty.
When exposed to air, the iron will oxidize.
Cursor.
The cursor blinked on the computer screen.
Move the cursor to the right side of the screen.
Impatient.
She grew impatient while waiting in line.
He was impatient for the results.
Onerous.
He found the responsibilities onerous.
The task was onerous and time-consuming.
Resound.
Her voice will resound through the hall.
The sound of the bell will resound in the valley.
Quad.
The event will be held in the main quad.
They met in the college quad every afternoon.
Tactic.
They devised a new tactic to win the game.
The marketing tactic was very effective.
Administration.
He works in the school administration.
The new administration implemented several changes.
Participate.
They decided to participate in the event.
She loves to participate in class discussions.
Cricket.
The cricket match was very exciting.
He enjoys playing cricket on weekends.
Abreast.
The soldiers marched abreast in formation.
She kept abreast of the latest news.
Hereafter.
He promised to be more careful hereafter.
Hereafter, they would follow a new protocol.
Valve.
The heart's valve ensures proper blood flow.
He turned the valve to release the steam.
Smack.
She gave him a smack on the cheek.
The fish made a smack as it hit the water.
Catechism.
The priest asked questions from the catechism.
They studied the catechism in Sunday school.
More.
They decided to moor the boat in the harbor.
The ship was safely moored for the night.
Psychiatry.
Psychiatry focuses on mental health.
She is studying psychiatry to become a doctor.
Upshot.
The upshot of the meeting was a new plan.
The upshot of the experiment was surprising.
Repository.
They created a repository for old documents.
The library is a repository of knowledge.
Armpit.
He applied deodorant to his armpit.
The rash appeared in his armpit.
Briefcase.
He carried his documents in a briefcase.
The briefcase was left in the conference room.
Versatile.
The tool is very versatile.
She is a versatile actress.
Testosterone.
Testosterone levels vary among individuals.
The doctor measured his testosterone levels.
Concede.
She had to concede that he was right.
He refused to concede the election.
Jewel.
He bought her a beautiful jewel for her birthday.
The Queen wore a magnificent jewel.
Excerpt.
She read an excerpt from her new book.
The excerpt was published in the magazine.
Arena.
The gladiators fought in the arena.
The concert was held in a large arena.
Counterfeit.
They were arrested for producing counterfeit money.
The product was found to be counterfeit.
Enhance.
Exercise can enhance your health.
They used filters to enhance the photo.
Alley.
The kids played in the narrow alley.
She walked down the dark alley.
Drone.
The drone hovered above the field.
They used a drone to capture aerial footage.
Corporal.
Corporal punishment is banned in many schools.
He was promoted to corporal in the army.
Havens.
The park is one of the city's havens.
They sought havens from the storm.
Countess.
She became a countess by marrying a nobleman.
The countess hosted a lavish party.
Exploit.
They planned to exploit the new market opportunities.
The movie is about the daring exploit of a hero.
Guinea.
She traveled to Guinea for her research.
The experiment was conducted on a guinea pig.
Savvy.
She is very savvy about technology.
You need to be savvy to succeed in business.
Lagoon.
The lagoon was surrounded by palm trees.
They swam in the clear lagoon.
Sprint.
He decided to sprint the last 100 meters.
They had a sprint race in gym class.
Remote.
He used the remote to change the channel.
The village is located in a remote area.
Brooch.
She wore a beautiful brooch on her dress.
The antique brooch was a family heirloom.
Loaf.
They loafed on the beach during their vacation.
He loafed around the house all day.
Goal.
Her goal is to become a doctor.
He scored a goal in the last minute of the game.
Condescend.
She felt insulted by his condescending attitude.
He would not condescend to answer the question.
Exit.
They found the exit sign in the building.
Please exit through the rear door.
Maternity.
They built a new maternity ward at the hospital.
She is on maternity leave.
Clank.
The chains made a clank as they hit the floor.
He heard the clank of metal against metal.
Incubate.
They will incubate the startup in their accelerator program.
The eggs need to incubate for several weeks.
Edict.
The king issued an edict to the people.
The edict was enforced by the guards.
grandstand,
The grandstand provided a great view of the field.
The fans filled the grandstand to watch the game.
lightning,
The lightning lit up the sky.
She was scared of the loud lightning and thunder.
ingrain,
Hard work is ingrained in their culture.
The values were ingrained in her from a young age.
culprit,
The police caught the culprit.
He is the main culprit behind the incident.
exponential,
They studied the exponential function in math class.
The company's growth has been exponential.
incarnate,
She believed he was evil incarnate.
The character in the story was bravery incarnate.
wipe,
He used a cloth to wipe the dirt off his shoes.
Please wipe the table after dinner.
generate,
The machine can generate electricity.
The idea generated a lot of interest.
origin,
The word has its origin in Latin.
They trace the origin of the disease.
disarray,
The room was in complete disarray.
The sudden change left everyone in disarray.
cardiovascular,
They specialize in cardiovascular surgery.
Regular exercise is good for cardiovascular health.
monolith,
The ancient monolith stood tall in the desert.
The new building was a glass monolith.
foyer,
The foyer was decorated with flowers.
The guests waited in the foyer.
arable,
The land is arable and perfect for farming.
They bought a large plot of arable land.
moot,
They held a moot court for the law students.
The point is moot and irrelevant to the discussion.
Surgical.
He underwent surgical treatment.
The doctor has great surgical skills.
Crater.
They explored the volcanic crater.
The meteor left a large crater.
Diverse.
The city has a diverse population.
They offer a diverse range of products.
Plop.
She let the book plop onto the table.
The stone made a plop as it hit the water.
Yuppie.
The yuppie worked in finance and lived in the city.
He dressed in typical yuppie fashion.
Guillotine.
They studied the history of the guillotine.
The prisoner was executed by guillotine.
Veil.
The travelers rested in the vale.
They hiked through the lush vale.
Proletariat.
The revolution aimed to empower the proletariat.
The proletariat fought for better working conditions.
Cartilage.
The injury damaged his knee cartilage.
Cartilage is softer than bone.
Bereave.
She was bereaved of her closest friend.
The family was bereaved after the loss.
Colosseum.
The Colosseum in Rome is a famous landmark.
They visited the ancient Colosseum.
Geophysics.
Geophysics involves the study of Earth's physical properties.
She is studying geophysics at university.
Projector.
They used a projector for the presentation.
The projector displayed the image on the screen.
Bulk.
He did not balk at the challenge.
The horse balked at the jump.
purr,
The cat began to purr contentedly.
She loved the sound of her cat's purr.
topaz,
The topaz sparkled in the sunlight.
She wore a ring with a topaz stone.
sodden,
His clothes were sodden after the rain.
The ground was sodden with water.
stadium,
The stadium was filled with cheering fans.
The game was held in a large stadium.
canyon,
They hiked through the beautiful canyon.
The canyon was carved by a river.
regent,
The regent made important decisions for the kingdom.
The regent ruled in the king's absence.
affluence,
The neighborhood is known for its affluence.
He lived a life of affluence and luxury.
banal,
She found the conversation banal.
The movie's plot was banal and predictable.
spider,
She screamed when she saw the spider.
The spider spun a web in the corner.
flout,
He flouted the law without any concern.
They flout the rules regularly.
equilibrium,
The system reached a state of equilibrium.
She tried to maintain her emotional equilibrium.
croon,
The singer crooned into the microphone.
He began to croon a soft melody.
taboo,
Discussing money was a taboo in her family.
The subject was considered taboo.
dike,
The dike protected the village from the sea.
They built a dike to prevent flooding.
dismantle,
The team worked together to dismantle the stage after the concert.
They had to dismantle the old machinery before installing the new one.
Dough.
She kneaded the dough to make fresh bread.
The dough was left to rise before baking.
Unrest.
The community felt the tension of social unrest.
There was political unrest in the region.
Update.
Don't forget to update your software regularly.
The news anchor provided an update on the situation.
Pinnacle.
The company's success was the pinnacle of their achievements.
Reaching the summit of the mountain was the pinnacle of their expedition.
Headlight.
He adjusted the headlight on his bicycle.
The car's headlights illuminated the road ahead.
Giraffe.
They admired the grace of the giraffe at the zoo.
The giraffe stretched its neck to reach the leaves.
Stubborn.
He can be quite stubborn when he's determined.
Her stubborn refusal to listen caused frustration.
Supposition.
She made a supposition about the outcome of the experiment.
The theory is based on supposition rather than concrete evidence.
Stoop.
He had to stoop to enter the low doorway.
Don't stoop to their level, stay above it.
Resonance.
Her words had a resonance that stayed with him.
The music had a deep emotional resonance.
Translucent.
The translucent curtains let in soft light.
The butterfly's wings were translucent.
Monologue.
She practiced her monologue for the audition.
He delivered a long monologue in the play.
Mournful.
The mournful sound of the violin echoed through the room.
Her mournful expression showed her sadness.
austere,
His austere demeanor made him seem unapproachable.
The room was decorated in an austere style.
dyslexia,
Children with dyslexia may struggle with reading and writing.
She overcame her dyslexia with specialized tutoring.
barren,
The once lush garden had become barren due to neglect.
The desert was barren with no signs of life.
wart,
He had a small wart on his finger.
She visited the dermatologist to remove the wart.
intestine,
They studied the anatomy of the intestine in biology class.
The intestine is part of the digestive system.
debilitate,
The illness debilitated him for weeks.
Lack of sleep can debilitate your immune system.
crane,
The crane extended its arm to reach the construction site.
They used a crane to lift the heavy machinery.
innate,
Her talent for painting seemed innate from a young age.
Some skills are innate, while others are learned.
shred,
There wasn't a shred of evidence to support his claim.
She tore the paper into shreds.
bandage,
He applied a bandage to the wound.
The nurse wrapped the injured arm in a bandage.
champagne,
The champagne glasses sparkled in the candlelight.
They celebrated with a bottle of champagne.
ewe,
The ewe grazed peacefully in the pasture.
They raised you for their wool.
confide,
He confided his deepest secrets to her.
She felt comfortable enough to confide in her friend.
disobey,
It's important not to disobey the rules.
She was punished for disobeying her parents.
Dynamite.
The explosion was caused by a stick of dynamite.
The miners used dynamite to blast through the rock.
Venue.
The concert venue was filled with excited fans.
They booked the venue for the wedding.
Clump.
She brushed aside a clump of hair from her face.
The bushes grew in a dense clump.
Dissipate.
The fog began to dissipate as the sun rose.
His anger slowly dissipated as he calmed down.
Jasmine.
She loved the fragrance of jasmine in her room.
The garden was filled with the scent of jasmine.
Parallel.
The roads run parallel to each other.
His life seemed to follow a parallel path to hers.
Melody.
She hummed a melody as she worked.
The melody of the song was hauntingly beautiful.
Ash.
The fire reduced the wood to ash.
He brushed away the ash from his clothes.
Ominous.
His words carried an ominous warning.
The dark clouds looked ominous before the storm.
Insular.
The island's culture was insular and unique.
She felt insular in the small town.
Sophistication.
She admired his sophistication in handling difficult situations.
The restaurant's decor reflected elegance and sophistication.
Zoom.
The camera zoomed in on the bird in the tree.
The car sped by with a loud zoom.
Reveal.
She hesitated to reveal her true feelings.
The magician was about to reveal his final trick.
Disclose.
The report will disclose the details of the investigation.
He refused to disclose his sources.
Pate.
The chef's specialty was foie gras pâté.
He spread pâté on the crackers for the party.
Ceramic.
The vase was made of delicate ceramic.
She collected ceramic figurines.
Pith.
He got straight to the pith of the matter.
The pith of the argument was lost in the shouting.
Restrain.
They had to restrain him from running into danger.
It took all her willpower to restrain her anger.
Throne.
She felt like a queen sitting on the throne.
The king sat on his golden throne.
Cadence.
The poem had a rhythmic cadence.
Her voice had a musical cadence to it.
Incriminate.
He refused to say anything that might incriminate him.
The evidence could incriminate him in the crime.
Alkaline.
The soil was slightly alkaline.
They tested the water's alkaline levels.
Strata.
They studied the strata of the Earth's crust.
The rock formation had distinct strata.
Nutrition.
Eating a balanced diet is important for good nutrition.
They discussed the importance of nutrition in sports.
Nucleotide.
They studied the structure of nucleotides in biology class.
DNA is made up of sequences of nucleotides.
Banter.
They engaged in friendly banter during the game.
The banter between them lightened the mood.
Deed.
She signed the deed to her new house.
His deed spoke louder than words.
Hardcore.
He was a hardcore fan of the band.
The hardcore workout left them exhausted.
Scripture.
He quoted scripture to support his argument.
They found solace in reading religious scripture.
Simmer.
She let the soup simmer on the stove.
The tension between them continued to simmer.
Kilogram.
They measured the ingredients in kilograms.
The weight of the parcel was 1 kilogram.
Excise.
They had to excise the tumor during surgery.
The government imposed an excise tax on certain goods.
Fountain.
She made a wish and tossed a coin into the fountain.
The park had a beautiful fountain in the center.
Multilateral.
The agreement required multilateral cooperation.
They discussed multilateral strategies for peace.
Fume.
The fumes from the factory polluted the air.
He watched silently, his anger fuming inside.
Brief.
She briefed the team on the project's progress.
They were fully briefed before the meeting.
Deceased.
She mourned the loss of her deceased grandmother.
The deceased were honored in the memorial service.
Punk.
He dressed in punk style with spiked hair.
The music festival featured punk bands.
Transgress.
The transgression led to disciplinary action.
They warned him not to transgress the rules again.
Low.
The document was written in French, with annotations in Latin.
They discussed the meaning of lieu in the context.
Vista.
They admired the vista of the city skyline.
The view from the hill provided a breathtaking vista.
Beneficiary.
She was the sole beneficiary of his will.
The charity was a beneficiary of his generosity.
Buff.
The car's shiny finish was due to the buff and polish.
He was a history buff and loved visiting museums.
Brainstorm.
They sat down to brainstorm ideas for the project.
The brainstorming session yielded several creative solutions.
Skirmish.
The political skirmish resulted in a compromise.
The troops engaged in a minor skirmish.
Brooch.
She decided to broach the subject delicately.
He broached the idea of a vacation.
Metro.
The metro system was efficient and fast.
They traveled by metro to avoid traffic.
Grievance.
She filed a grievance with HR about her treatment.
The workers had legitimate grievances about working conditions.
E.T.
They discussed the meaning of ET in legal terms.
The document was signed by the parties et al.
Replete.
The buffet table was replete with delicious dishes.
Her bookshelf was replete with classic novels.
Sneak.
She caught him trying to sneak a peek at her phone.
He tried to sneak past the guard unnoticed.
Ostracize.
They decided to ostracize him from the group.
She felt ostracized after the incident.
Enzyme.
They studied the function of enzymes in biology class.
Enzymes play a crucial role in digestion.
Null.
The results were null and void due to errors.
Contract became null after they cancelled it.
Aroma.
She enjoyed the aroma of flowers in the garden.
The aroma of freshly baked bread filled the kitchen.
Assent.
They nodded in assent to show their agreement.
Her assent was crucial for the decision.
Rabbi.
They consulted with the rabbi for advice.
The rabbi led the religious service at the synagogue.
Clap.
The audience erupted in applause and claps.
He gave a sarcastic clap to show his disbelief.
Distribute.
The company distributed the products to retailers.
They planned to distribute the flyers in the neighborhood.
Comprehend.
She struggled to comprehend the complex instructions.
The teacher helped her comprehend the math problem.
Transducer.
They studied the function of transducers in electronics.
The device acted as a transducer to convert signals.
Turf.
The neighborhood kids claimed the playground as their turf.
They discussed territorial turf in the animal kingdom.
Actuary.
They consulted an actuary for financial planning.
He worked as an actuary calculating risk for insurance companies.
Decoy.
The bird acted as a decoy to distract predators.
The undercover agent used a decoy to gather information.
Mar.
His behavior marred the otherwise pleasant evening.
The scratch marred the surface of the table.
Cosmetic.
She applied cosmetic products to enhance her features.
The company produced cosmetic items like lipstick and mascara.
Supersede.
Technology can supersede outdated methods.
The new law will supersede the old regulations.
Prodigy.
She was a prodigy in mathematics, solving complex problems easily.
The young pianist was a prodigy with incredible talent.
Numeric.
The numeric values showed a clear pattern.
They analyzed the numeric data to draw conclusions.
Index.
She flipped through the index to find the right page.
The index listed all the topics covered in the book.
Grim.
The situation looked grim with no easy solutions.
His expression turned grim when he heard the news.
Formula.
The scientist formulated a new formula for the experiment.
The formula for success includes hard work and determination.
Impute.
She refused to impute motives without evidence.
They tried to impute the blame on others.
Prank.
They played a harmless prank on their friend.
His pranks always made everyone laugh.
Youth.
The organization focused on empowering youth.
She enjoyed the energy and vitality of youth.
Sack.
He carried his belongings in a canvas sack.
They threatened to sack him if he didn't improve.
Atrium.
They held the ceremony in the building's central atrium.
The hotel lobby featured a grand atrium.
Gentry.
The gentry were known for their elegance and manners.
They mingled with the gentry at the ball.
Emir.
The emir welcomed foreign dignitaries.
The emir ruled over the region with authority.
Tweak.
She made a small tweak to improve the recipe.
He tweaked the settings to optimize performance.
Wing.
The airplane's wing was damaged in the storm.
The bird spread its wings and took flight.
Tribute.
They paid tribute to their fallen comrades.
His speech was a heartfelt tribute to his mentor.
Neutrino.
Neutrinos are elusive particles.
Scientists study the properties of neutrinos.
Conservatism.
His conservatism influenced his political views.
They debated the merits of conservatism versus progressivism.
Pretentious.
The restaurant had a reputation for being pretentious.
She disliked his pretentious attitude.
Sector.
The company operates in the technology sector.
They invested heavily in the healthcare sector.
Handkerchief.
She dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief.
He tucked the handkerchief into his pocket.
Extradite.
The suspect was extradited to face trial in another country.
They fought to prevent his extradition.
Chauffeur.
The chauffeur opened the car door for them.
They hired a chauffeur to drive them to the event.
Cosmology.
He studied the mysteries of the universe in cosmology.
Cosmology explores the origins and structure of the cosmos.
Depart.
They bid farewell as he prepared to depart.
The train was about to depart from the station.
Lacquer.
The furniture had a shiny lacquer finish.
She applied lacquer to protect the wood.
Grip.
Fear had a strong grip on her heart.
He tightened his grip on the handle.
Outburst.
His sudden outburst surprised everyone in the room.
She couldn't control her outburst of laughter.
Demoralize.
They tried not to let setbacks demoralize them.
The defeat demoralized the team.
Romance.
They enjoyed a quiet evening filled with romance.
The novel was a captivating romance story.
Ooze.
The wound started to ooze pus.
The mud began to ooze between his toes.
Content.
She felt content with her life.
The website's content was informative and engaging.
Turtle.
She kept a turtle as a pet.
They watched the turtle slowly crawl across the sand.
Oversight.
The mistake was due to an oversight in the planning.
They blamed the oversight for the project's failure.
Indigenous.
They studied indigenous cultures in anthropology class.
The tribe practiced indigenous traditions.
Reconstitute.
They had to reconstitute the dried food with water.
The committee was tasked to reconstitute the guidelines.
Idyllic.
She longed for an idyllic life away from the city.
The countryside was an idyllic setting for a vacation.
Timber.
They harvested timber from the forest.
The cabin was built with sturdy timber.
Jut.
They stood on the jut of rock to get a better view.
The cliff had a sharp jut that overlooked the ocean.
Archipelago.
The archipelago was made up of several small islands.
They sailed through the tropical archipelago.
Overweight.
The baggage was slightly overweight.
He struggled with being overweight for years.
Teller.
The bank teller processed their withdrawal.
She worked as a teller at the credit union.
Pertain.
Her questions didn't pertain to the topic at hand.
The rules pertain to all members of the club.
Tidy.
She liked to keep her desk tidy and organized.
The room was tidy and free of clutter.
Hiccup.
She couldn't control the hiccup in her laughter.
The project encountered a small hiccup, but was otherwise on track.
Incur.
He didn't want to incur any additional expenses.
They warned him of the risks he might incur.
Right.
They observed the rite with reverence.
The ceremony followed an ancient rite.
Antipathy.
There was mutual antipathy between the two leaders.
Her antipathy towards him was evident.
Methyl.
Methyl alcohol has specific properties.
They analyzed the chemical structure of methyl groups.
Pajamas.
She changed into her comfortable pajamas before bed.
They had a pajama party with friends.
Counsel.
The lawyer provided counsel to his clients.
She sought counsel from a therapist.
Festival.
The town hosted a vibrant festival each summer.
They enjoyed the music and food at the festival.
Boar.
He hunted boar during the hunting season.
They spotted a wild boar in the forest.
Resolution.
She made a New Year's resolution to exercise more.
The conflict was resolved with a peaceful resolution.
Loathe.
He loathed having to wake up early.
She loathed the taste of broccoli.
Motley.
The crowd was a motley mix of people from different backgrounds.
They wore motley costumes for the carnival.
monk,
They visited the monk in the monastery.
The monk lived a life of solitude and prayer.
captive,
The animal was kept captive in a zoo.
He felt like a captive of his own fears.
coral,
They snorkeled among vibrant coral reefs.
The necklace was made of genuine coral.
consecrate,
The priest consecrated the communion bread.
They consecrated the new church with a ceremony.
confederate,
He was a loyal Confederate during the war.
The Confederate States had their own government.
miraculous,
They witnessed a miraculous event.
The doctor described the recovery as miraculous.
lick,
The dog gave a friendly lick on her hand.
She used her finger to lick the cake batter.
pragmatist,
She admired his pragmatist approach to business.
He approached the problem as a pragmatist, focusing on practical solutions.
goat,
They kept a few goats for milk and cheese.
He climbed the rocky hill like a goat.
bunny,
They adopted a pet bunny from the shelter.
The children loved to play with the fluffy bunny.
surreptitious,
She made a surreptitious glance at her watch during the meeting.
They planned a surreptitious operation to gather information.
dude,
The Dude Ranch offered horseback riding adventures.
He greeted his friend with a casual "Hey, dude."
chapel,
They held the wedding ceremony in a quaint chapel.
The chapel was adorned with beautiful stained glass.
gin,
She mixed a cocktail with a splash of gin.
They enjoyed a refreshing gin and tonic.
Friction.
There was friction between the two departments.
The friction from the machine caused sparks.
Handset.
The handset was sleek and modern.
He answered the call on his mobile handset.
Asparagus.
She cooked asparagus with butter and lemon.
They enjoyed grilled asparagus with their steak.
Receipt.
They issued a receipt for the returned item.
She kept the receipt as proof of purchase.
Ascetic.
The ascetic monk lived a life of simplicity and meditation.
His ascetic lifestyle included fasting and prayer.
Pray.
They were careful not to become prey to scams.
The lion stalked its prey in the tall grass.
Magnificent.
The palace was a magnificent display of architecture.
Her performance was nothing short of magnificent.
Method.
The recipe's method of preparation was detailed.
He followed a strict method in his research.
Elite.
The school admitted only the elite students.
They were part of the elite group of scholars.
Compulsory.
They made compulsory changes to the policy.
Attendance at the meeting was compulsory.
Un.
The table had an uneven surface.
She felt uneasy about the situation.
Dismount.
They were instructed to dismount from the vehicle.
He learned how to dismount from the horse gracefully.
Uncanny.
Her ability to predict things was uncanny.
The resemblance was uncanny. They could be twins.
Engrave.
The jeweler engraved a message on the bracelet.
He engraved their initials on the tree trunk.
Incongruous.
The choice of music seemed incongruous with the scene.
His statement was incongruous with the facts.
Sentencing.
They awaited the sentencing with apprehension.
The judge announced the sentencing after the trial.
Radiotherapy.
The patient underwent radiotherapy for cancer treatment.
They discussed the benefits of radiotherapy.
Fragile.
She handled the eggs with care as they were fragile.
The vase was delicate and fragile.
Congenital.
The doctor explained that the condition was congenital.
They studied the congenital heart defect.
Funeral.
The funeral was a solemn occasion.
They attended the funeral to pay their respects.
Appropriable.
The funds were not appropriable for personal use.
They discussed the appropriation of resources.
Vaccine.
The doctor administered the vaccine to the children.
They developed a new vaccine to combat the virus.
Crossword.
She enjoyed solving the daily crossword puzzle.
They worked together to complete the crossword.
Millionaire.
They interviewed the millionaire for insights.
He became a millionaire after years of hard work.
Congress.
They attended the Congress to network.
The Congress debated the new legislation.
Documentary.
They watched a fascinating documentary about wildlife.
The documentary shed light on a historical event.
Hack.
They were victims of a hack on their accounts.
He used a clever hack to solve the problem.
Candidate.
She was a strong candidate for the position.
They interviewed several candidates for the job.
Fibrosis.
Fibrosis can lead to tissue scarring.
They studied the effects of fibrosis on lung function.
Stun.
The news of her promotion stunned everyone.
The movie's twist ending left audiences stunned.
Martyr.
They honored the martyr's memory with a monument.
He sacrificed himself for his beliefs and became a martyr.
Gauze.
The nurse applied gauze to the wound.
They wrapped the bandage with sterile gauze.
Demolition.
They witnessed the controlled demolition of the structure.
The old building was scheduled for demolition.
Prance.
The horse began to prance around the field.
She watched the dancers prance gracefully on stage.
Bunk.
He dismissed the idea as bunk.
They slept in bunk beds during the camping trip.
Groom.
The bride and groom looked radiant on their wedding day.
He took great care to groom his appearance for the interview.
Assimilate.
The company encouraged employees to assimilate new information quickly.
It took time to assimilate to the new culture.
Ayatollah.
The Ayatollah issued a religious decree.
They discussed the role of the Ayatollah in politics.
Insatiable.
She had an insatiable appetite for adventure.
His curiosity seemed insatiable as he asked question after question.
Monograph.
He published a detailed monograph on ancient civilizations.
They studied a monograph on marine biology.
Obstetrics.
The hospital offered comprehensive obstetric services.
She specialized in obstetrics and gynecology.
Masonry.
The old building's masonry was in need of repair.
They admired the intricate masonry of the cathedral.
Dread.
He tried to push aside his dread of public speaking.
She felt a sense of dread as the deadline approached.
Dummy.
The ventriloquist used a dummy for his act.
They practiced CPR on a dummy in training.
Profess.
He professed his innocence in the matter.
She professed her love for painting.
Cavalry.
The cavalry rode into battle.
They studied the tactics of the medieval cavalry.
Singular.
The author had a singular style of writing.
His talent was singular and unmatched.
Ebony.
The piano had ebony and ivory keys.
They admired the rich color of the ebony wood.
Hardware.
The store specialized in selling hardware for construction.
They purchased new hardware for their computer.
Cognac.
They enjoyed a glass of cognac after dinner.
The chef used cognac in the sauce for extra flavor.
Instigate.
They warned him not to instigate trouble.
He was accused of trying to instigate a fight.
Intelligentsia.
The intelligentsia debated philosophical concepts.
They looked to the intelligentsia for guidance on complex issues.
Plausible.
They presented a plausible plan for the project.
His explanation seemed plausible at first.
Epidemic.
The region faced an epidemic of flu cases.
They worked to contain the epidemic spread of the virus.
Tanker.
They observed the tanker dock at the port.
The tanker carried oil across the ocean.
Install.
They needed to install new software on the computer.
The technician came to install the new equipment.
Vagrant.
The city had programs to help vagrants find shelter.
He felt a sense of empathy for the vagrant on the street.
Slat.
The blinds had adjustable slats for light control.
They replaced the damaged slat in the fence.
Enterprise.
They launched a new business enterprise.
The enterprise expanded its operations globally.
Derby.
The Derby was a popular event in the town.
They attended the horse derby at the racetrack.
Dabble.
She liked to dabble in various hobbies.
He decided to dabble in photography.
Rampage.
They witnessed the rampage of protesters.
The elephant went on a rampage through the village.
Coke.
He ordered a cola, but they served him Coke instead.
The recipe called for a splash of Coke for flavor.
Backwater.
They visited a backwater village during their travels.
The town felt like a backwater with little development.
Mentor.
She sought advice from her mentor.
He served as a mentor to younger employees.
Alderman.
They voted for a new alderman in the upcoming election.
The alderman addressed concerns of the local community.
Fester.
The wound began to fester and needed medical attention.
They watched the issue fester without resolution.
Spectra.
They studied the spectra of different elements in chemistry class.
The scientist analyzed the spectra of light emitted by the star.
Breach.
They discovered a security breach in the system.
He warned them not to breach the contract terms.
Fatal.
They warned of the fatal risks of the expedition.
The accident had fatal consequences.
Spinster.
She embraced her life as a spinster.
The term spinster fell out of use over time.
Precursor.
They considered the event a precursor to change.
The discovery was a precursor to further research.
Stretcher.
The paramedics carried the injured person on a stretcher.
They folded the stretcher after use.
Soothe.
The music had a soothing effect on them.
She tried to soothe the crying baby.
Tsunami.
The tsunami caused widespread destruction.
They studied the impact of a tsunami on coastal areas.
Weld.
They inspected the weld for any defects.
The welder joined the metal pieces with a strong weld.
Mechanism.
They analyzed the mechanism of action of the drug.
The mechanism of the machine was intricate.
Emblazon.
The flag was emblazoned with the country's emblem.
They decided to emblazon the logo on the product.
Pledge.
He kept his pledge to help his friend.
They made a pledge to support the charity.
Sodium.
They tested the water for sodium levels.
Sodium chloride is commonly known as table salt.
Splash.
She added a splash of color to the painting.
The kids enjoyed playing in the splash of the fountain.
epithet,
He used an insulting epithet to describe his opponent.
The poet used a beautiful epithet to describe the sunset.
altruism,
They admired his altruism and generosity.
Her altruism was evident in her charitable work.
coexist,
The two species learned to coexist in the ecosystem.
They hoped for a future where humans and nature could coexist harmoniously.
sprig,
They planted sprigs of lavender in the garden.
She decorated the table with a fresh sprig of mint.
catchment,
The reservoir served as a catchment for rainwater.
They studied the catchment area of the river.
friar,
They sought counsel from the wise friar.
The friar devoted his life to prayer and service.
spill,
Be careful not to spill the coffee.
The spill of oil polluted the river.
compose,
They collaborated to compose a beautiful piece of music.
She took time to compose her thoughts before speaking.
flee,
The dog scratched at a flea on its fur.
They sprayed the carpet to get rid of fleas.
invoke,
They warned him not to invoke the wrath of the gods.
She decided to invoke the spirit of creativity.
precaution,
They took precautionary measures to prevent accidents.
He urged everyone to exercise precaution in dangerous situations.
incidental,
They considered the noise an incidental part of city living.
The damage was merely incidental and not intentional.
allergy,
She had an allergy to peanuts.
They tested for allergies before starting the treatment.
quota,
Company reached its quota ahead of schedule.
They set a quota for sales targets.
Gruesome.
The movie had some gruesome scenes.
They were shocked by the gruesome details of the crime.
APT.
They found an apt solution to the problem.
His remarks were particularly apt for the occasion.
Mausoleum.
The mausoleum housed the remains of a famous leader.
They visited the ancient mausoleum as part of the tour.
Sterile.
They used sterile gloves during the procedure.
The surgical equipment was kept in a sterile environment.
Salmon.
She cooked a delicious salmon dish for dinner.
The river was teeming with salmon during spawning season.
Intellect.
They engaged in stimulating discussions of intellectual topics.
His intellect was admired by his peers.
Wield.
He learned to wield the sword with precision.
She wielded her influence to bring about change.
Mound.
They climbed to the top of the mound for a better view.
The ants built a large mound in the garden.
Octave.
The singer's voice spans several octaves.
They tuned the instrument to the correct octave.
Afield.
The discussion went afield from the original topic.
They ventured afield to explore new territories.
Clutch.
She held onto the clutch tightly as she drove.
He reached for the clutch to change gears.
Stoic.
He admired her stoic demeanor in tough situations.
Despite the challenges, she remained stoic.
Palazzo.
The Grand Palazzo overlooked the city.
They toured the historic palazzo during their trip.
disrespect,
He showed disrespect by ignoring their opinions.
They won't tolerate disrespect in the workplace.
outlaw,
The sheriff pursued the outlaw across the frontier.
They considered the outlaw a dangerous criminal.
collage,
They studied famous artists known for their collage work.
She created a beautiful collage of photographs.
brink,
They stood on the brink of a new era.
The situation was on the brink of becoming chaotic.
underscore,
The data will underscore the importance of their research.
They used bold font to underscore key points.
glut,
They faced a glut of job applicants.
There was a glut of products on the market.
vilify,
He tried to vilify his opponent with false accusations.
They cautioned against vilifying individuals based on rumors.
weed,
They sprayed herbicide to control the weed growth.
She pulled out the weeds from the garden.
percolate,
Ideas began to percolate during the brainstorming session.
The coffee started to percolate in the pot.
chaplain,
They sought comfort from the hospital chaplain.
The chaplain provided spiritual guidance to the troops.
waive,
They decided to waive the late fee as a gesture of goodwill.
He agreed to waive his right to a trial.
wile,
They were cautious of his wiles and manipulative tactics.
She used her wiles to charm her way out of trouble.
fling,
He decided to fling caution to the wind and take a risk.
They enjoyed a relaxing weekend flinging frisbees at the park.
frugal,
They adopted a frugal lifestyle to save money.
She was known for her frugal spending habits.
Senses.
His heightened senses allowed him to detect danger.
They explored the world through all five senses.
Cadet.
They welcomed the new cadet to their ranks.
The military academy trained young cadets for service.
Tiller.
He adjusted the tiller to steer the boat.
They planted rows of crops using a tractor tiller.
Phrase.
They translated the phrase into multiple languages.
She struggled to find the right phrase for the poem.
Ravine.
The hikers crossed a deep ravine in the mountains.
They marveled at the beauty of the rugged ravine.
Prosaic.
They preferred novels with more prosaic writing styles.
The story was prosaic and lacked excitement.
Mosquito.
They used insect repellent to keep mosquitoes away.
The mosquitoes were particularly bothersome that evening.
Snip.
They made a quick snip to the conversation.
She used scissors to snip the thread.
Consequence.
The consequence of his decision was unexpected.
Every action has a consequence.
Overlook.
Don't overlook the importance of this step.
She tends to overlook small details.
Granulate.
To make the dish, granulate the spices finely.
The sugar began to granulate as it cooled.
Feudal.
Feudal lords controlled large estates.
The feudal system dominated medieval Europe.
Nectar.
Hummingbirds feed on nectar.
Bees collect nectar from flowers.
arch,
He walked through the ancient arch.
The arch of the bridge is beautiful.
vocabulary,
Reading books expands your vocabulary.
Her vocabulary has improved significantly.
quirk,
Everyone has a little quirk that makes them unique.
His unique quirk makes him stand out.
grid,
Use the grid to align your text correctly.
The city is laid out in a grid pattern.
inhabit,
They inhabit a small village by the sea.
Many species inhabit the forest.
gem,
This museum has many rare gems.
She wore a gem-studded necklace.
crescendo,
The excitement in the room built to a crescendo.
The music reached a dramatic crescendo.
deadline,
She worked hard to meet the deadline.
The project deadline is next Friday.